Hey everybody, Steve Przebrowski here. Welcome to tip number 58 in the series, 101 tips to ace your promotional exam. As a reminder, my website, code3firetraining.com, has a lot of great free information on there. Click the free stuff link and you get lots of great stuff to help you or anybody else that you're working with. Just whether you want to help someone be the best they can be for the position they're in or the position they aspire to. Same goes for yourself. So lots of great information. Check it out. And again, this series is based on my latest book from Fire Engineering Books and Videos. Go check it out if you haven't already. Now, tip number 58 here. This really ties into what I've shared from day one of don't just prepare for the test, prepare for the position. So tip 58 goes right to that. Prepare for and rehearse the three most important things that you're going to do at the firehouse. Seems pretty straightforward. I mean, I know if I ask that question with a group of people in front of me, hey, what are the most important things you do at the firehouse? We get a wide variety of answers. Well, without letting the cat out of the bag, I'll hint that all three deal with your most important asset and also the most challenging situations you're going to have to deal with. Cut to the chase. Think about it. People, your crew members, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean in a positive way, because one of the things I shared in a previous episode or probably episodes is that, especially as a company officer, one of the most important things that you can do or you are expected to do is enforce policy. Again, I know that sounds more like a manager than a leader, but again, especially as a company officer, first line supervisor, you are supervisor, manager, and also leader, and you have to balance all three of those roles too. And if you look at what's causing most of our issues in the fire service, it's usually because of lack of accountability, and it usually is at the company officer level or the battalion chief level. Nothing personal. I know there's exceptions to all the rules. So, I mean, all ranks can have problems, but everything usually seems to start and end with the company officer who can either make or break the team. Well, I'll cut to the chase here. As I mentioned, they all relate to people. What are the three most important things you're probably gonna have to do? Okay, I'll let it out. I will let the cat out of the bag. So I'm an animal lover. What can I say? I think make sure that you have your personnel expectations already thought about what you're going to share with your crew. Also, think about your first crew meeting, because you're going to have a crew meeting. And let's say you're a battalion chief, you're going to have multiple crews. So it's not as easy as one firehouse, one shift. When I was a brand new battalion chief, I was assigned one of our battalions that had 7 stations, 7 firehouses. There's no way I could get there in the first shift, let alone the second shift. So I had to map it out properly to make sure I got there. But I think expectations is the first thing to be aware of. Make sure you already think about your first crew meeting. And then guess what? When expectations fail and you have to hold people accountable, you're going to also have to do something that's very crunchy and uncomfortable, which is a subordinate or personnel counseling scenario. You have to prepare for those properly, because not everyone appreciates being sat down, especially when they put you in the position. Because think about it, when you have to sit down one of your crew members to have that speech because they did not do their job or live up to their part of the bargain with the expectations. It's not always, hey, Cap, sorry to put you here. My bad. I won't do that again. It doesn't always work that way. It'd be nice if it did, because then it'd be a very easy meeting. But unfortunately, a lot of people come into those meetings with, well, what are you jamming me up for?
I couldn't hear what you said.
Well, sorry, Siri. Most people come into those meetings like, what are you jamming me up for? What, making you be the bad person, when it's like, why am I the bad person? You're the one that's making me do my job. And again, it'd be nice if everyone just followed expectations, followed policy, did the right thing, but we know it's not as easy as that. So when it comes down to it, you got to be prepared for what your expectations are, because if you don't share your expectations with your crews, that's going to be one of the first questions. And there's nothing more embarrassing to me than you sitting down with your crew or your crews, if you're a battalion chief the first time, breaking bread, having a cup of coffee or beverage of choice, getting to know each other better, and having them go, hey, so boss, what's your expectations of us? And this happened to me years ago as a battalion chief. I remember going up to my deputy chief at the time going, hey, boss, what are your expectations of me? And he goes, Steve, that's a good question. He goes, let me think about that. I'll get back to you. He never did. And I'm like, that's something that he should have already had planned in place on that first meeting. I mean, that was my first day as a battalion chief. He should have, battalion chief working for him, that should have been something that he had already thought of. And again, I've been guilty of that too, so it's, great guy, but just hadn't thought of it. I mean, and for the most part, I was doing my job. So it's like, well, I guess he goes, keep doing what you're doing. Okay, I will. Hopefully it's right. But personnel expectations, first crew meeting, and also prepare for that first counseling scenario, because they're all going to happen. But also they're going to happen potentially during an oral interview or a assessment center, because more and more departments today during their promotional process for captain, especially battalion chief or higher, they're going to throw out maybe a role play scenario or maybe a video-based scenario or just maybe a hypothetical scenario that's going to ask how you handle things. Those are questions I've heard asked of captain candidates, chief candidates. Hey, tell us, what expectations would you share with your troops in your first day? Or tell us about that first crew meeting, captain. Or, okay, here's a scenario. Someone basically did something inappropriate, violated policy. How are you going to handle it? And again, it may be a video, which is a little bit less stressful, or a very stressful role player, like I talked about in one of the previous tips, that's in your face, making you think like you're the part of the problem, which is what happens in real life. Like, why am I the bad guy? I'm having to hold you accountable because you're not doing the right thing. And I think that's that challenge. So be prepared for those three things, because think about it. We rarely get a second chance to make a great first impression upon our new promotion and or firehouse assignment. So take the time to adequately prepare for personnel expectations, your first crew meeting, or if you don't have a crew, because let's say you're a deputy chief that is assigned to the office like I was. I didn't have a crew because I wasn't in the firehouse, but I did have a crew. My crew was the 40-hour folks. I had a battalion chief, captain, firefighter, as well as 2 administrative assistants. So that was my crew that I took ownership of. And, take the time to have that, speech prepared of expectations, because again, you can't wait too long. If you don't give any or set any expectations, and then you try to hold someone accountable, the first question that's probably out of the mouth, you never told me I couldn't do that. I know it sounds sort of bullshit to have to say that after the fact, but it's true. If you didn't tell them, I know you shouldn't have to tell people everything. Don't micromanage. Your expectations should be big picture, strategic, if possible, maybe tactical level. If it's a probationary brand new firefighter that doesn't have a lot of experience, yeah, then your expectations may get down in the weeds a little bit in the task level stuff, just to make sure you give them guidance. Again, don't micromanage, don't hold their hand, but try to at least set people up for success. So the better you can prepare in advance, obviously the promotional process may go better if you have those events. And obviously, more importantly, when you get the position, those things will hopefully go better. So, as always, thank you very much for the gift of your time. Please feel free to reach out with me or connect with me on social media. And until the next time, be safe, take care, and we'll see you soon.